Hello, everyone, and welcome to Girl Meets Rugby. My name is Christina Lanham, and we have officially entered episode 002. This week, we have a lot to talk about. The MLR has a media deal, the WER has made some roster announcements, and we're going to take a look back of week one of the Men's Six Nations. So, with that, let's go ahead and get underway, and we're going to talk about the MLR. So, Major League Rugby has announced a multi year media deal with ESPN. What this means is that all matches, regular season and playoffs, will be streamed live on ESPN Plus, select matches on ESPN2. And this has definitely caused a ripple of conversation throughout the MLR community, both positive and negative. The big thing to take away from this is live games are officially now behind a paywall. So you must subscribe to ESPN Plus in order to view the games live. All games will still be airing on the Rugby Network. However, it will now officially be a 72-hour delay for all games. Now, this isn't unusual for us in the MLR. In previous seasons, we've had a game of the week that would air on Fox Sports, and that game would have a 72-hour delay before it could be on the Rugby Network. But now, all matches are going to have this 72-hour delay. The only thing not impacted by this are the local channel deals that each team has where games are playing locally on those stations. That's still going to happen. But for the Rugby Network, where people can view for free, there's now a 72-hour delay. And so, understandably, there are folks that are frustrated on that, that maybe don't have the means or the desire to add another subscription service, that now they can't watch games live, they have to wait. But I also see this as an opportunity. If you already have people in your life that are big sports fans that don't know about rugby yet, there's a good chance they're probably subscribing to something like ESPN already. And if that's the case, instead of having them have to go set up a new account on a different website or a different mobile app, they can actually just navigate in the app they're already using and watch the games. So I feel like we are having an opportunity to open this up to a wider audience. And so I'm excited for that. And I think that can be really helpful. And I think it's the right step for the MLR overall. Now, if you don't care for having a streaming service, or if you just don't have the money for it, I completely understand. And, it's going to have to be a personal decision for each person. I myself am temporarily subscribed to Peacock, so I can watch the Six Nations matches. Once those are done, I'll probably cancel that subscription and I'll just funnel that money towards my ESPN Plus. If you haven't subscribed to it before, I believe you can get a 30-day free trial. So there's at least that if you want to test it out. There's also been complaints I've seen in comments and such that streaming capability on ESPN Plus has been questionable, but I would say it's been questionable on the Rugby Network as well, at least for me personally. I've seen where, I got to the point I could only watch a match on my phone. I couldn't cast it to my television. I couldn't watch it from my laptop. I would have issues with games playing, constantly restarting. And so that became a huge piece of frustration for me because who wants to watch an entire game on your phone? And that be the only way that you can do it if you can't attend live. And so I even reached out to the Rugby Network support, and they were just like, you need to use the app. You can't use the website, because they couldn't figure out how to resolve my problem. And that was frustrating for me. So I don't know if people have had a similar experience on ESPN Plus, but I'm definitely willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. Not only that, I can't blame everything on platforms. I certainly lived in an area of Houston where we would lose power every few days. So that doesn't help things. And it can certainly affect how we actually get to view media. So not everything is the platform's fault. There's certainly other factors that can be involved, or it could be I'm just an idiot and I don't know how to use the app appropriately. So that's always a possibility. But nonetheless, MLR, ESPN, I think it's a huge announcement. I think it's the right step as we move towards the Rugby World Cups in 2031 and 2033. I think we need to be able to more easily get games in front of people. I love that they run Six Nations on Peacock. And I think being able to run things on ESPN Plus is also a good move. Now, if you're interested and you don't know how much it costs, it's about $12 a month just for ESPN Plus. If you want to do the bundle where it's Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, that is $17 a month. And there's another level above that to get rid of commercials, but that is not going to affect ESPN Plus. So if you're looking for that, it's really if you're using the other two in the bundle a lot where you want to get rid of commercials. Otherwise, I would just stay away from that. So now that we've kind of gone through that, I thought we would talk a little bit about the preseason because we are just a few days away from the season openers for MLR. And I thought it'd be good to look back at what people have done. I've got my show notes handy here, and I'll be glancing down at them as we go just to keep me honest. But I do want to say I was looking through and we had about, let's see, one, two, three, about five of the 11 teams held season ticket member events. And so I thought that was really great for those teams to engage their season ticket holders. Those are people who obviously are making the financial investment to pay for all 8 games at home up front. And those are the people who are most likely to be your evangelists among your fan base. And so I think you want to treat those people right. You want to make them feel loved. You want to help them feel more connected to your team. So I think the 5 teams that did that, which the ones that I saw were the Hounds, the Seawolves, the NOLA Gold, San Diego Legion, Houston Sabercats, and the Utah Warriors. And so all of those had a season ticket member event. Miami didn't have specifically a season ticket member event, but they did have an open day at the beach and practice where any fan could come. So I would count that as at least a close second. Given that they're just in their second year or entering their second year now, it may be that they didn't quite have the season ticket member base to really plan something just yet. So I think that was still a great opportunity. And then also the New England Free Jacks did have, it wasn't a like a big event for the season ticket holders that I saw, but they did split the team up and they went and stayed, I believe, overnight at different supporters' homes and got to have a meal with them and really have some quality time with their biggest fans, which I thought was very cool. I love seeing the pictures of that and hearing some of the recaps from the fans or the teammates about their experience with it. My only drawback to that is I assume not every season ticket member got to participate. That's at least my assumption. And so therefore, we you didn't hit everybody as best I can tell. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. But it's one of those things. I think that was a amazing move for them to make in engaging their fans. I just don't know if it should have been the only move. And so with that, you know, kind of take or leave it. And then Anthem held some kind of an event. It looked like it was an event with World Rugby and USA Rugby. I don't know if season ticket holders were involved or not. It was really unclear based on what I could find online. And then with that, we also had a number of friendly matches. And the Free Jacks went down to Miami and played on the 7th, I believe. And I didn't see the outcome of it. I did see some pictures of the Free Jacks enjoying some warm weather. I'm sure they were excited to get out of that New England winter and head down to Miami for a couple of days. So, probably a win for both sides on that. And then, the Hounds had a friendly on the 1st of the month with Anthem, where, they came out ahead 35-30, and then they held a second match with the SaberCats on the 8th, and that one, they ended up on the losing end. It was, I think, 60 points to 18 or something like that. I didn't have that one written down, but they did come, I think again, they were probably also like, hey, we're down in Houston. It was 82 degrees in Houston compared to, I think it was probably close to 3 degrees in Chicago. So I'm sure they were just excited to be in the warm weather. Not only that, it was literally 1 week before they're going to be back in Houston for their season opener. So I don't think that game was going to be as competitive as others might be. And again, with preseason, it's a time to try things, to experiment with your lineup and all of that, type of stuff. So never put too much stock in the ending scores for any preseason match. The Seawolves did a couple of friendlies. They ended up doing one up in Canada, which they lost, and then they did one with their local rugby club, the Seattle Rugby Club, which they won like 71-0. That sparked a lot of feelings online when they posted the final match score. And so I did see where Seattle posted uh, kind of a statement slash apology. They definitely weren't trying to, I think, make fun of or put down the Seattle Rugby Club. I think all the teams are really supportive of the local rugby clubs and see huge value in them. And so I think that was kind of an unfortunate misstep where, and either from the fans or from the club or both, just in the misinterpretation of that. So I really felt for Seattle in that moment. Um, but it's great to see them being involved in their local rugby clubs, playing matches with them. I'm sure it was a great experience for the Seattle Rugby Club to play with a team at the professional level. You always will get better playing people that are a level two, three, four above you. It may not reflect so well on the scoreboard, but that doesn't mean you don't walk away with a lot of uh, education and knowledge and skill that you get just by playing somebody that is on a higher level. The Nola Gold went and did a friendly with Houston. And so they traveled over to Houston. That game ended up being 1938 in Houston's favor. And then the Legion went up to LA, or yeah, I think they went up to LA. It was 40-31. And then they went over to Utah, and Utah ended up winning that game. I don't have the score on that. I apologize. But, you know, a good amount of stretching their legs, getting through those reps, which is great. Both LA and Legion have new coaches this year, so there's a lot of getting things, to feel out and get everything kind of aligned to whatever coaching style both teams will now have. And then uh, LA, of course, probably had the most interesting preseason match. They actually took a trip out to Fiji and they played against the Drua. They ended up losing 26-33, which ultimately is very respectable. And again, preseason, so we don't hold a lot of stock in what the final score is. I will say it probably was a really great moment for them to bond as a team and for them to actually get through everything, that they needed to be ready for a season opener. With the changes, with a lot of position changes. Obviously, Billy Meeks returning over to the team there, and they've had a number of other signings and player switches and such from other teams. So I think that was probably a good move for them to get out of the area, be somewhere else, really come together as a team. We're really hoping for them to have a good standing this year, same as the Miami Sharks and of course Anthem. We're definitely expecting a lot out of these teams as they enter their sophomore year to really step up their game and be competitive with the other teams. I think every fan wants to have a highly competitive, highly contentious season where any team is going to be possible to make the playoffs, that every game matters. And so that performance is key. And with that, that kind of covers everything on the MLR front. So let's go ahead and jump over to the WER. So when the Women's Elite Rugby did their initial team and logo announcement, they also did a merch drop. So if you were interested in getting a t-shirt of one of the 6 teams or a t-shirt with all 6 teams on it, those are now available at the Women's Elite Rugby website. Just head over to their shop. They did have a 10% discount running at one point. I don't know if that's still up. I will say I broke the bank a little bit, and I've got one of each team coming my way. So I'll be excited to show those to you guys when they get here. But yeah, so we've got some merch out there, and we definitely want to be supporting and getting the word out on women's rugby. So I would highly recommend you go check that out. And then I wanted to read off some information about the grassroots workshops they're doing. I'm going to kind of look down at my notes here because I want to read it correctly. But the grassroots workshops are going to support grassroots rugby by creating opportunities for folks to lead in their local communities. And there are 3 sets of dates with various locations. So I'm going to let you know about those. February 22nd through the 23rd will be workshops in New York and Denver. March 8 through 9 will be Twin Cities and Chicago. And March 15 through 16 will be Boston and the Bay Area. So if you are interested in women's rugby, if you're interested in learning more, participating, whatever, please go to the sites. You can go to the Women's Elite Rugby website or to any of the specific teams' websites to learn more about these grassroots workshops and get yourself signed up. And then the biggest news for the teams is that we have the OG6 have released the OG5. So the original 6 teams have announced the original 5 team members for each team. And so we've got some huge roster announcements. Of the 30 players that are on there, 6 are USA Eagles, meaning they have represented the United States as the national team, which is huge. And I wanted to kind of read off the names of those folks. If I miss somebody, please let me know. I tried to go through each player's profile to see the information that was on there, but it's very possible I missed someone. And then for the players, as I read your name, if I read it wrong, I'm very sorry, but I'm trying. So WER players that are also USA Eagles, we have Cass Bargell, Emily Henrich, Paige Stathopoulos, Rachel Eric, Maya Learned, and Mackenzie Hawkins. So it's great to see these original 5 team members announced. They're obviously going to be a cornerstone to those teams to help provide leadership and direction on the field. And so we're really excited to see all of these players coming in. We're excited to see what other roster announcements will be coming, as well as location and schedule information. So all of that's going to be coming over the next few weeks, and I'll be here to cover that as we go. But we're excited for what is coming thus far. And if you haven't already, please go check out their social media pages. They're getting player profiles up there. They're getting a lot of information out. So social media is definitely the way to keep abreast of the WER movements at the moment. And then that is everything in WER for now. We'll definitely have a lot more to cover in coming weeks, I'm sure. But I thought we would go ahead and flip over to the Six Nations. And since we just wrapped up week 2, I didn't wanna cover that just yet. I figure there might be people who are still trying to catch up on games. I have a couple I wanna rewatch, but week 1, fair game. If you haven't seen week 1 by now, I don't know what you're doing, but we're gonna do a week 1 recap. And we're gonna kick off with the first game, was France versus Wales. And this saw the return of Antoine Dupont for the French team. As you remember, Antoine Dupont was not participating in Six Nations last year as he was in preparation for the Olympics being held in France. He helped represent France with his team of the for sevens, and they ended up taking home the gold medal. So it was time well spent for him. But I can definitely see him being back on the 15s is making an impact. It was 43-0 to Wales, really tough loss for Wales, and it was a bit heartbreaking at times, especially towards the end when they finally had gotten across the try line, but then couldn't get down to the ground to actually ground the ball. Was heartbreaking to see, and it appears that Wales is on the same trajectory as they were last year as far as their performance. I really feel for Gatlin, and just saw right before recording this that he has officially left at the head coaching position there. I think he was in a really tough place. I think the Welsh rugby is in a struggling state, and I don't think that any one person can fix this. So I wish Mr. Gatlin the best. I think he did the best with what he could, with what he had. But yeah, so that was kind of a bit of a downer this week, just seeing that he has been released from the head coaching position there. But or not Wales, France themselves actually looked really good. They seemed to be pretty cohesive. It was, if I remember correctly, a bit wet for that match. So trying to keep your hands on the ball is always tough for that. But yeah, so now let's head on over to Scotland v Italy. So Scotland walked away with the victory, and in the first half, it looked like it was going to be a shutout. Scotland was performing really well and came off really, really strong. And then in the second half, Italy really came back. And at one point, it got tied 19-19. And I was wondering if this was going to be another upset like last year. But eventually, Scotland did pull it together. They managed to pull away and secure the win. But Italy is definitely coming up to be a much stronger team. They definitely need to pull things together and perform a bit stronger in that first half. But they definitely did make a strong performance. And I expect to see them get another win or two under their belt, I think, this season. I wouldn't underestimate them. Scotland, I felt, performed well. I don't think it was the best I've ever seen them perform, but they definitely made a good showing. So, and I think they're going to be, contenders for the title. I think in general, minus Wales and Italy, I think all the other teams have a good shot at it. I think they're performing in general well. So it was good to see that match. And then the final match was England versus Ireland. And with that, Ireland ultimately claimed the victory. England came out on the first half really strong. They really struggled with penalties and such. The ref was really on them for quite a bit of the game. And so, whether you agree with the ref or not, that's where the call stood. And Ireland was a little slow to get together. I mean, I wouldn't say this is the strongest Irish team we've ever seen. They certainly pulled out the win in the end, but it just seemed to take them a while to get their legs under them. And obviously, we know with them, Andy Farrell is no longer the head coach of the Ireland team, and their assistant coach is now the interim coach. So it'll be interesting to see as they play through these matches over the next 4 to 6 weeks, where things end up. And right now, they won their first match, and we'll have to see how week 2 treats them. But I wouldn't say it was their best performance out there. But with that kind of wraps up where they played at in the first week. Like I said, Italy, Wales, I don't see them in contention for the title. But overall, I felt we had good performances from Italy, or not, sorry, Ireland, Scotland, England, and France. And so it'll be interesting to see where those come out. I'm going to be looking forward to bringing back the recap of week 2 to you guys next week. And with that, let's go ahead and get to the end of our show here, where I give you a little tidbit of information to take with you off the pitch. And this is about where you decide to put your energy in. And I think a lot of this you can look at social media, and there's a lot of people that are on social media in the comment section who are there just to spread hate, to be divisive, and not to have some kind of open dialogue with people and have an exchange of information, because disagreeing with someone is totally fine. And it's a good thing, actually. We need open discourse. We need to be able to have arguments with each other, and at the end of the day, disagree, but still be okay with each other as people. But there's some people that what their goal is just to be hateful for no reason and to just spread discontent. And unfortunately, when you look at social media, those are the comments that tend to get the most responses. They get the most reactions. And ultimately, you have to ask yourself, is that where you want to pour energy into? Do you want to pour energy into these negative, hateful comments? Because ultimately, what you're doing is feeding the person that wrote the initial comment. You're giving them your energy. And so and with that, they're taking that energy to go do more. And so I would say, take your energy and pour it into positive things or constructive things. It's fine to get into a back and forth where you're exchanging ideas that may be in opposition of each other. If it's constructive, if it's for the purpose of, trying to get to each other's point of view. But if it's just to be hateful, why expend your energy there? Put your energy into positive things. Put your energy into constructive things. Things that you want to see more of in the world. And I don't know about you, I could do with less hate in the world. And so I don't want to feed into that. So that's my thought. Think about where you're going to put your energy into. And if anything, put your energy into watching more rugby. So with that, this has been Girl Meets Rugby. My name is Christina Lanham, and this was episode 002. Have a great night, everyone.